If you're a Notion user, you've probably had this happen to you before. You've bought a new Notion template and you've added all your projects and tasks, and everything looks great for the first week. But by week 2, you're staring at a wall of tasks, half-finished projects, and deadlines across 10 different due dates. It feels like no matter how much you do, you're still falling behind. In this video, I'm going to show you how to fix that inside of Notion. We're going to reframe Notion overwhelm in a way you've never seen before. And I'm going to give you 2 simple steps you can do in your own Notion workspace to take you from feeling chaos to absolute clarity really easily. My name's Gobby and I have over a decade of experience building systems for investment banks, trading desks and small businesses. And even with all of that, I was still drowning in my own work. So I built my own framework called LifeSync Hub to help fix that. And here on this channel, I share the exact way I use Notion to stay clear and in control of both my week as well as my workload. So by the end of this video, you will not only understand the main cause of overwhelm within Notion, but you'll also learn how to tweak your own Notion setup to stop overwhelm for yourself. Okay, so let's start with the real problem, overwhelm. Most people think overwhelm means too many tasks, but that's not it. Overwhelm is the gap between the priorities you committed to and the actual capacity you have to deliver on them. So if you've just got one project and a handful of tasks, it's really easy to get done and to feel in control. But where overwhelm shows up is when you've got multiple goals across multiple areas, like marketing, sales, client delivery, and maybe even your personal life, but they're all competing for a limited amount of time that you have in a given week. So by the time you've committed to all of them, you're already behind. You've loaded up more priorities than your brain or your week can handle before you've even started the week. So you've set yourself up to feel overwhelmed. It's not necessarily a productivity problem. It's actually a capacity mismatch. You set yourself up to carry more than you can actually lift. So how can we fix this, specifically inside of Notion? The solution isn't more statuses, deadlines, or cleaner to-do lists. The solution is actually 2 simple steps. Step 1, we need a top-down way to split your work into what's active and what's in backlog. Step 2, we need a simple weekly workload view that lets you test your plan for the week against your actual capacity, so that you know if you're overloaded before you even start the week. Let me share my screen and break that down for you with my own Notion setup. So the mistake most people make is that they try to manage their work from the bottom up. So what I mean by that is they try to manage their work from task level upwards. The way I work, and the way I recommend you do it as well, is to set up your workspace from the top down. That means we don't just track tasks. We track areas, results, projects, and tasks in layers. And in each layer, we make a simple split, active versus backlog. So here on my screen, you can see my results overview section. So these are the outcomes that actually matter to me right now. And I can see instantly which results are active by clicking on the active tab here, meaning I've committed to driving these results forward this week. And I can also see what's backlog by clicking on this backlog tab here, meaning that they matter, but just not right now. So for example, you'll see here, I've got 2 active results here and the rest of my results are all in backlog. That way, when I log into my Notion setup, I'm not seeing 10 different outcomes on one page. I'm focused on the 2 that I've chosen to work on this week. Under each active result, I've got projects that drive it forward. So scrolling down, I can see my projects overview section. And here's the key, I only make a project active if it's tagged to an active result. So in my projects overview section, I can see exactly which projects are live this week in this tab versus what's parked for backlog in this tab here. You'll notice I've got 6 active projects here. 2 of those are tagged as key focus, so the things that really move the needle forward this week, and the other 4 are steady progress. That way, when I get to this section, I'm not tricking myself into thinking that all of these need my maximum energy. And you'll also see here I'm rolling up duration estimates so I can see how much time the tasks will take inside of each of these projects. So that way I know how much time I've actually committed to these projects. And very quickly, when I scroll up to the top here, I've also got quick scorecards here as well that show me how many active results and how many active projects that I've got in my workflow right now. That way, whenever I log in, I know at a glance, am I overloaded or have I committed to too many projects? And honestly, this is what makes the separation really clear. Active work is what I see here and backlog work is hidden and ready for me to activate when I have more space. And that's the whole point really of this. Overwhelm comes from staring at everything at the same time. So by adding a clean split into your Notion setup of what's active versus what's backlog for both results, projects, and tasks, you'll land on your Notion dashboard and only see the work you've chosen to carry out this week. I like to think of it like visiting a website. The homepage should only show you what's current, not a graveyard of everything you've ever thought about doing. And this is the key. You decide what's active versus what's backlog once a week. That way, you're not reacting to every day. You'll commit to what you're working on this week once a week, and then the rest sits in backlog. So that's step one, top-down clarity. You separate what's active from backlog from the top down, so you're not carrying everything at once. But here's the truth. Even when you apply top-down active versus backlog splits, you can still overload yourself in a given week. That's where step two comes into play. And step two is testing your plan against your real capacity for the week. Because it's one thing to say that these are my active projects, but it's another thing to make sure we can fit them into your actual week. So with your meetings and any other things on your calendar. So what you see on my screen here is my weekly workload view. And here's what I use to see my active projects, the tasks inside of them that are due this week and how long they will take, and even a quick look at how much time I need to spend on these projects next week as well. So for me, this is the most important step when it comes to beating overwhelm in Notion. From here, it's very easy for me to see if I've planned for clarity this week. So how much time I've allocated to these projects here matches how much time I'm able to commit, or if I've set myself up for overwhelm. So for example, if I come here and I see 100 hours of tasks that have been scheduled across my projects for this week, unless I plan on not sleeping, I'm not going to be able to finish that. This view forces me to rebalance my workload before the week begins, rather than drowning halfway through the week. And here's where it gets really practical. So let's say you've got a heavy week of meetings, or maybe you're taking Wednesday off to go on holiday, and suddenly you realize that your work week isn't 40 hours and you've actually got 20, so half of the time. Building a weekly workload view is going to help you spot all of those things up front. So if you've got 6 active projects, but your week only has capacity to work on 3 of them, then you know that instantly and you can move 2 or 3 of the projects into backlog before the week even starts. So that's where your plan really matches your reality for the week. So every project here has tasks with due dates and time estimates inside of them. So those are what I use roll-ups for to get the project duration. Once I take a look at this view and I know that it looks realistic, it's as simple as going into my calendar and then blocking out time for these projects that I've committed to. So I don't block out time for every single task, but I just block out time for each project. So if I've got a 2-hour block for project A in my calendar, when it's time to work on it, I just open the project and come down to the list of tasks and start working through them for the 2 hours. It's simple, it's clear, and it makes sure that the week feels doable and not overwhelming. And of course, there's weeks where I overshoot or something unexpected happens, and that's okay. If I start the week and I realize that I'm overloaded, I can move some of the tasks into next week, or I can just move the project into backlog. The real difference here is that I'm making a decision consciously and not just waking up every day to a mess of deadlines that I need to manage, which were impossible from the start. So let's zoom out for a second. Step 1 was active versus backlog. So deciding what matters this week from the top down. Step 2 is weekly workload planning. So testing your plan for the week against your actual capacity. Do those 2 things and you've basically solved overwhelm inside of Notion. You can set this up inside of your own Notion dashboard today to set up an active versus backlog filtered view for all of your layers of work, and then create a weekly workload view where you can see how much time you need to spend on tasks due this week for each one of your projects. That's it, and I promise you, you're instantly going to feel lighter and more in control. And if you don't want to build it from scratch, that's why I created LifeSync Hub. It has all of this built in, as well as a smart inbox that helps keep the system organized automatically. If you want to find out more, just check out the link in the description below. I've got a link to my website there, and you'll see a 5-minute explainer video, and you can decide if it's something that you want. There's also a whole bunch of written reviews and video testimonials that you can check out as well if you want. If you want to build it yourself, that's great, go for it. The main takeaway is this: overwhelm doesn't come from how hard you work. It comes from carrying much more than your week can hold. So separate active from backlog, match it to your own capacity, and just see how much clarity you get back. If this was helpful and you want to see more content like this, hit like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.